LawBreakers has been out for a little over a month now, but it's not been doing well at all. Despite very positive reviews, this old school arena shooter has failed to make an impact. But the game's creator Cliff Bleszinski is doing everything in his power to keep the game going, including not being so much of a dick. Desperate times, Cliff.
LawBreakers is the newest game from veteran game developer Cliff Bleszinski, famed for his work on Gears of War and the Unreal series, and he promised that it would reinvent the FPS genre. Having left his longtime studio Epic Games, Bleszinski announced LawBreakers with his trademark confidence, making some big, ballsy claims like,
I think we've kind of made the Dark Souls of competitive first-person shooters.
And
none of that $60 multiplayer-only bullshit.
He even formed Boss Key, a completely new studio, especially to develop the game. On paper, Bleszinski was ticking all the right boxes: hardcore FPS game, cheaper price tag, and a unique mechanical twist, all masterminded by a famed veteran game developer. But the reality didn't quite marry up with Bleszinski's lofty ambitions, and the game hasn't really resonated with the community.
Despite the game launching to positive reviews, the sales and player count were a completely different story. On launch, LawBreakers didn't even manage to crack Steam's top 100 sellers list, and the peak player count topped out at only 7,579 players on launch day itself. But that plummeted, and sharply. Within a week, the player count dropped down to just 1,000 concurrent players, and in the following weeks, it fell to under 500 concurrent players. But Bleszinski kept a brave face throughout all this, insisting he wasn't worried about the game, saying it's a marathon, not a sprint. But the news broke last week that LawBreakers' player count had dropped to under 50 players, the lowest figure ever recorded for the old school FPS. It's hit lows of 28 players, and according to GameSpot, had 0 players online at one point. For a well-reviewed, discount-priced game from a guy like Cliff Bleszinski, that is not good.
This is how well it's kind of fared on PC, which isn't well at all. It has been a bit of a shambles, to be honest.
Bit of a shocker, isn't it, really? Yeah. We expected more from Cliff Bleszinski. He obviously expected more. He says a lot of the right things, although like he can sometimes be grating for people, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It's the first kind of PR bloody nose he's had in a long while as well, I think. Because he's definitely got his market all the time. All these games that he makes are kind of loved by at least some people, if you know what I mean. He's always found his audience, except not this time, which has got to be a weird feeling for him, right? Like he's not really experienced it before. Another comparable game to this is, kind of on the surface, pretty similar game, although, please, explain to me what the differences are down in the comments, please do that. But Battleborn was another game that kind of came out into this kind of market, and it was just clobbered by the other games that were around it, and it hasn't done very well, and that's basically dead now. They've announced just this week that they're going to stop supporting updates for it. It's basically in maintenance mode. You can still play the game, but they're not going to be like improving it or anything in the future. They tried everything with Battleborn. They took it free to play pretty much. They did everything they could think of to get it into people's hands. People weren't picking it up, and that was trampled. But at least that's got the excuse of being trampled by Overwatch specifically, because it came out in a similar time frame. LawBreakers is just being trampled by everything, it seems. So what can Cliff Bleszinski do about this? Well, for starters, be less of a dick. That's what he reckons anyway. LawBreakers hasn't had the best of luck, and Bleszinski's acknowledged the game's problems, but he hasn't lost faith in the project entirely. Speaking to GameSpot, Bleszinski said he's been humbled by the low player figures, and launching not long before Destiny 2 probably didn't do the game any favours, he reckons. But he insists it's only the PC version that isn't performing well. The PS4 version of LawBreakers is apparently doing fine, according to Bleszinski. However, when GameSpot Australia tried to play a match of LawBreakers on PS4, they gave up after spending 45 minutes searching for a game. Bleszinski said, we're going to keep iterating, keep working on it. At the end of the day, I didn't want to make the exact same archetypes that everybody else did. I wanted to make a game that was first and foremost for shooter players.
The veteran game designer believes LawBreakers will perform better in the long run. He cites Warframe as an example of a game which started out slow but eventually grew into one of the biggest multiplayer games around. On release, Warframe received mixed reviews, with critics finding the gameplay fun, but they criticised the monotonous grind and free-to-play model. But Digital Extremes, who developed Warframe, kept the game up to date with a steady stream of new content and patches. To date, Warframe has been played by over 26 million people, and a massive new expansion called Plains of Eidolon Plains of Eidolon is scheduled to launch fairly soon.
Bleszinski remains optimistic about LawBreakers. Of course he does. He's an optimistic guy. And he says they made mistakes along the way, but he's committed to rectifying those mistakes. One of the mistakes in question was the decision to launch without a team deathmatch mode because it went against Bleszinski's development vision and he refused to budge. Bleszinski also thought his brash and cocky personality might have actually put people off trying the game, and he's even going to try and be less of a dick on social media. Kulkowski recently released a development roadmap for the game showing off new maps, characters, tutorials and a tournament mode called Boss League. Bleszinski concluded the interview saying, "Those of you who have been kind enough to drop $30 on this, we've got your back and we're sticking with it."
Cliff Bleszinski once again saying the right things. That's exactly what you want to hear if you're playing a game with only 30 other people right now. You want to hear that he's got your back and he's still supporting it. They've got a roadmap planned out. He sees a long future for the game. Whether that is feasible, considering that there's so very few players playing it, what do you do in this situation?
Within one day, I think it was last week, we got the news that they had announced this roadmap and there was all these details coming out, and also that there were only 48 people playing it at any one time. So you're just kind of like, oh god, you know, it kind of you feel bad for them. Can they blame what's happened on it on like saturation? I guess they can. I think Overwatch is such a huge juggernaut of, you know, in that sphere, like there's nothing else that's going to touch it. Everyone has already got Overwatch, so no matter what mechanics you got, no matter what anti-gravity stuff you got going on in the game, interesting or not, in a very superficial level it kind of does the same thing and it's in the same space, so it's going to be really hard to compete. Maybe it's like a lack of marketing or something. I just can't put my finger on it what exactly has gone wrong with this.
So he's using Warframe as an example of a game which can start really slow and gain momentum. Now it averages 40,000 concurrent players on Steam, does Warframe, and that was from 2013 I think when it released. That did pretty poorly.
A while,
yeah, and so that game's done really well. I agree, that's a great example to have and strive to be like. But I don't see LawBreakers like Warframe at all. Warframe's a totally different game. It's more like Destiny. We've got like an online hub area. You do missions and things like that. It's not just an arena shooter like LawBreakers is. And for them to be able to support and build the game into something more than what it is at launch, like Warframe has, it's going to be really difficult for what is essentially just an arena shooter to do. I can't see how he's going to manage that.
They made a ballsy move with LawBreakers by just charging $30 for it, which is fantastic. And when he was promoting it, saying, "Oh, we're only going to be charging you $30 for it," and none of that $60 bullcrap, which we mentioned in the voiceover there. That's good. That's very good that he's done that. But you can't help but think that maybe that has kind of worked against them somehow. Maybe people are thinking, well, that's a less than premium price. Maybe I'm going to get less than premium product. I've already got Overwatch. I've already got like these other games. There's free-to-play games that kind of do the same thing now. Why do I need this $30 game as well? Like a PC shooter is a very difficult thing to make and to make successfully, I think. As for the future, will they go free-to-play? Is it even possible for them? Is it a viable plan? Who knows?
It was supposed to be free-to-play, wasn't it? Then they're throwing this price tag on it. Now, people think, like you said, people thinking that this isn't worth $30 because it's supposed to be a free-to-play. A big problem for me is that there are so many free-to-play games that are so good these days, like Warframe, for example. That's a huge example of why his game isn't going to do so well. He's using it as a roadmap for how he's going to fix his game. He's using it as inspiration as to how to fix his game and his dwindling player base. But Warframe is an example of something that's done so well in the free-to-play area. You look at the graphics of that game, it's like a free-to-play game shouldn't be this good. It should not be that good. Can LawBreakers ever compete with, in this market, for $30 when you've got so much good going on for free?
Okay, so LawBreakers, did you jump into it? What did you think of it? Are you playing it right now? Are you one of the 48? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this every single day. There's another video right there which you could watch right now, and there's a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. See you next time.